We already had the Return of the Jedi and the Return of the King, and if 2026 is to be the return of the RTS, we need one game to rule them all, one game to find them, one game to bring them all, and in the grim darkness of the Warhammer 40k world, bind them. So it is no surprise that Dawn of War 4 is already the most wishlisted RTS game on Steam, and its developers have not just talked about it a lot, but also shared more footage and cinematics with us.
Crash faster!
If you want to learn what other RTS games are also most anticipated and wishlisted on Steam, I made a video about them and it will be linked up here on the right and down in the description. But let's now go over all the news about this game. And one of the most important pieces of info is that not only is there going to be a co-op mode for the storytelling campaign, but if the other player drops, you can just carry on solo with no issues. As for the types of missions in the campaign, we have learned in the recent Developer Ask Me Anything on their official Discord that some are going to be more scripted, with dialogues progressing the story, while other missions will function as sort of skirmish matches with different setups, including allies on the battlefield. As for the OP Primarch, the Lion, joining the battle with his Dark Angels, you should know that he will only occasionally show up in the story missions as a sort of a special guest to lend his amazing power to the conflict, but he will not be playable in multiplayer or act as one of the playable commanders. Each faction will in fact get between 2 to 4 different commanders for skirmish and multiplayer, in which both replay and observer systems are going to be implemented. For those game modes, devs confirmed there are going to be about 30 maps to play on, and that there are several types of setup options for both, but not the ability to play a random faction, which they might add. Upgrading squads with new weapon types is very much a feature in Dawn of War 4, and devs noted that some squads will be gaining better weapons as a whole, while others will only receive upgrades for a few units in their squad, like a special weapon. Adding sergeants and alphas to squads is another returning feature. As for more nitty-gritty details on combat, devs explained that units will have both armor and armor penetration stats. What this means is that units' armor will reduce incoming damage by a set percentage. For each point for armor, they have more than the armor percentage of the attacking unit. If armor is equal to penetration, max damage is applied. In addition to that, some units will have special effects, which give them a chance to receive reduced damage or ignore damage completely. These will come from upgrades and researching tech. As for leveling up units and commanders, do note that commanders will get abilities as they climb up the 10 veterancy levels, but some of these will be mutually exclusive. There is no exact release date for 2026 yet, so stay tuned in and please do share your thoughts on the game's revealed info so far. The second most wishlisted RTS game on Steam right now, which I think might also be released in 2026, is Dustfront, and its developer too shared a lot of news, footage and info about it. This is one of the rare games which shares the dark and gritty look with Dawn of War, but its lore and factions are very unique thanks to the game's amazing art style and models. One element I never expected to see in it, however, was the drifting capabilities of the light unit, which looks like the Warhog from the Halo universe, and it's one of the Empire's vehicles. But this is an interesting way to show off terrain features of Dustfront's battlefields. This unit speed also works in combat to give it an edge over the more heavily armed and armored units, as depicted here by this tank's hilarious attempts to get a shot lined up on a light vehicle, which is using its superior speed and maneuverability to survive in this matchup. These tanks do have some moves of their own, as they are capable of driving backwards and turning on a dime. But what is even more interesting is that this amazing soul-developed RTS is going to have directional armor on vehicles. More precisely, a tank for example will have higher armor on the front than on the back and sides. But do note, not all vehicles will have this directional armor. It is not a huge difference in armor rating mind you, but just the inclusion of such a system is a great feature in my book, as it offers more tactical choices for each engagement. This was one of my favorite parts in playing Company of Heroes or codename Panzer games, and feel free to share what other games you have played with this feature. Lastly, there was a lot of info regarding infantry units and their squad mechanics. First of all, yes, you will be able to heal a squad and bring it back up to full unit strength of 5. When damaged, the squad loses one soldier at a time until it is destroyed, but an important point here is that the weapon damage of the squad remains the same, as it is still using up the same amount of supply points. It is only if a squad loses a single soldier unit which held a special weapon that the overall damage is reduced. For example, if a squad of riflemen has an anti-tank weapon on one soldier, once that particular soldier is lost, the anti-armor damage of the squad is also lost. But if your squad is marked as a specialist squad, be that a sniper, rocket or autocannon squad, then the weapon specialist dies last, keeping the squad's weapon damage at full until total squad wipe. If you remember which RTS game had this exact same system, do post it in the comments so we can discuss this further. In stark contrast to the atmosphere of these two games, we have the much more bright and vibrant gameplay of Space Tales, whose devs are sponsoring this video. It is a sci-fi base building RTS, which is going to take you through a narrative single-player campaign, and it is coming to Steam as an early access game in March of this year. It even has an active demo on Steam you can play, and the devs have been showing and explaining both its unique units and base building mechanics. Most interesting about these is how you drop blueprints for new buildings from orbit, or how you have certain enemies on maps which respawn unless you clear their whole bastions of units and drop in your own hub from orbit to conquer that area. Another twist is the fact that these concentrations of enemies won't sit idly forever waiting for you to amass a massive army, but will move to attack your base. These are called killbots and are just one of the factions in Space Tales that you will learn about as your main and supporting characters go through the branching story paths in single player. Do note, killbots are not the biggest enemies, as the game also has powerful alien bosses roaming the maps, and these are towering dangerous beasts with devastating abilities, but you don't have to beat them, you can capture and control them. I hope you will wishlist it and try its demo ahead of its early access release. The next game for which I have lots of new info and footage is a successor to Homeworld titled Masada, which I first showed you about a year ago. It is mostly a solo project and it has no publisher at the moment, so each and every wishlist you give it will help greatly. What this dev has done is to study classic Homeworld 1 formation movement and combat mechanics in an attempt to recreate that special gameplay we all love so much in his game. A demo is being prepared, so soon we should be able to test out if he managed to do this. Now, one major difference to his inspiration is the overall campaign, because Masada is an open world game, set in an exotic and isolated massive nebula for its entirety. This section of space is also home to many asteroids and neutral NPCs, who mine these asteroids alongside the player and you can trade with them. From these asteroids, players will collect ore and refine them into different combinations with a hierarchy of rarity and value while exhausting their supply, but resources will regenerate in different areas. These refined ores will be used to construct ships inside carriers as well as various modules and turrets. Eventually, devs will add super capital ships and bosses for you to defeat in massive battles. Fighter craft will do attack runs and some corvettes as well, while other types of ships will turn their face to attack or orbit enemies depending on their weapon systems. Besides formations, scavenging and subsystems, another great feature of Masada is simulated projectile and beam collisions. This means line of sight is very important in combat, while there are no crew mechanics for ships, but they do gain experience in combat and gain specific bonuses. To help players navigate 3D space, you will have both a sensor and map mode to view the space around your fleet and surrounding regions. There is a fleet capacity limit and a system of docking for smaller craft like fighters and corvettes with carriers. Do note the dev isn't going to implement a scaling difficulty, so enemies won't get stronger the stronger your fleet is. Keep in mind this is strictly a single player game, mods are being considered, and story exposition will be done through drawn cinematics. Make sure to wishlist it, and I will update you when more info or gameplay is available. To bring us back down to Earth, I should show you a bit of the gameplay from the recent playtest of Panzer Strike. This World War II themed tactical game offers no base building, but many scripted sequences of defending or attacking with tanks, infantry and artillery. It is not easy, but also not complicated, since it has no resources for you to worry about other than how you deploy your reinforcements. I must admit, I enjoyed getting my butt handed to me by the AI as I tried to defend several connected villages as the German faction against the Soviets, who kept on coming with both infantry and tanks. It is possible to garrison buildings with multiple infantry units and gain a defensive bonus, but this also limits your vision, which is a very important gameplay element. I hope there are going to be more opportunities for you to try it out during future Steam Fests, so follow and wishlist Panzer Strike on Steam. Recently, I enjoyed another playtest, this one of Calyx, and its campaign, but more importantly, the game will be released into early access on Steam on the 29th of January. You probably heard of this game before and its unique system of gameplay, where you do have a base and unit recruitment, but your enemies are massive plant creatures, which spread over the map with tentacle-like branches and slowly eat both your buildings and tanks. This is slowly explained in the campaign through text-based dialogue between your character and the AI that controls the ship with which your expedition came into orbit of this strange planet. Each mission has basically the same flow and main objective, but how you go about finishing depends on your starting position, which you can choose, your choice of turtling or rushing, and what buildings with energy or mining boosts you manage to connect to your power grid. For me, besides Mod War, Calyx is one of the most original RTS games I have seen and played in the last few years. Do let me know in the comments which is more original to you. And on the point of original gameplay, Strategos has been released in January to early access with a campaign progression system that might be miles away from the complexity of a total war game, but its real-time tactical battles might just be superior. This is a contentious point, I admit, but I have massively enjoyed its original approach to army control. The battles themselves are not butcher shop affairs with combat until the last man, but knife-edge engagements to see who routs more enemies faster by breaking down their morale with superior tactical moves and strategic plans. Its ancient setting is perfect for these morale and combat systems, and I have made a tutorial about it to help you get into it with a smaller learning curve. It is linked up here and down in the description, and I hope more of you will pick it up and end up enjoying it. Now going back to space for another game I hope we all get to enjoy soon, let's take a look at the newest info and footage of STARHOME. It is a sci-fi, nomadic space fleet based game about survival and exploration. This is exactly what the latest clips are about, showing the first glimpses of its in-game universe. There are several varieties of space environments, and devs promise a huge universe for us to explore. This is where Traveling Phases gameplay comes in, and the galaxy map to help you keep track of your journey. When you decide to move your fleet of survivors to put more distance between you and your nemesis, you enter the map and plan your route. Here you see info such as ETA, required fuel, and get intel like warnings or resource collection opportunities. Since you have a massive population to take care of and additional ships for combat to produce, such steps are necessary, but also give your enemy an opportunity to catch up or ambush you. It is a slow-moving game project, but keep it on your radar as I certainly will. Another game project with huge potential, and one which I know a lot of you are very interested in, is Empire Eternal, and its main dev revealed a lot of footage and info about its combat system. The system is going to work for both small and massive battles with up to hundreds of individual units. There are no squads here. The player is in total control of each individual soldier, which necessitates formations. This is why the developer made sure to allow us as future players to use commands to drag formations and quickly pick both their size and shape. From a simple line to a combat square, and with wedge, circular and spearhead formations still a work in progress. Every player of Bar will appreciate how important these formations and its controls are with massive number of units on the battlefield, and in Empire Eternal we are going to be able to keep using these formations even when combat starts. Devs are working on adding modifiers for rear attacks, terrain-dependent visibility ranges, and more such advanced elements, along with a competent AI to fight against. You probably already wishlisted this one, but in case you haven't, make sure to do so now. The next piece of amazing news I have to share is about Defcon Zero Frontlines of Tomorrow, that modern combat and base building RTS that we recently got a really good trailer and development update about. Its developers managed to secure funding in excess of $4 million, and are now on track to go into full game production in their own studio. In other news, it also already passed 10,000 wishlist additions on Steam, and as you can see, getting such game projects funded or gaining a publisher is inevitably tied to being on many players' wishlists. I hope to get into much more details about this topic and many others in my interview with developers, so stay tuned in for that one. Another way of getting funding is of course Kickstarter, and that is how developers of Timefront plan to get the first ever Battle Royale RTS off the ground. For now, you can only follow this project on Kickstarter and wait to be notified once it is possible to help fund them. I showed you some footage of its early alpha several times, and they do plan to go for high quality cinematics for their storylines. Do note it is going to feature multiplayer as well as customizable armies, 4 asymmetrical races, and ever-shrinking battlefields. More on that and its gameplay in future videos. When it comes to mods, I can't skip telling you about the return of the King campaign for the Age of the Ring standalone mod for Battle for Middle-earth 2 and its expansion, Rise of the Witch King. These amazing modders have outdone themselves again and posted a fantastic trailer for this new campaign, which covers the events of the Return of the King. They are trying to merge book content with what we saw in the movies and have it all work in the mentioned mod with Battle for Middle-earth 2 gameplay. A huge task, and I hope many of you will enjoy the fruits of their labor. The link to the mod is in the description, along with the links to all other games in this video. If you have other favorite Battle for Middle-earth mods, let me know in the comments. Equally amazing is what another modding team has done to Total War Attila and turned it into a Lord of the Rings game, which lets you experience the war which swept Middle-earth at the end of the Third Age. This mod is titled the Dawnless Days, and it features 9 playable factions with individual unit rosters, custom mechanics, and specially designed maps. This project took 10 years to finish, and it has been voice acted, giving its single-player campaign that extra quality many mods lack. Thematically, it is based on book lore, but visuals take inspiration from the movies. This trailer was made by a person under the nickname Aldur, and I hope you will download and enjoy the mod. Let me know in the comments if you already have, and what are your impressions. The last mod I want to tell you about in this video is for a fan favorite game we are all waiting on a sequel for, but until we get Star Wars Empire at War 2, I hope you're watching Petroglyph, these are the kinds of mods we can enjoy playing. This one in particular is Empire at War Expanded, The Fall of the Republic, and this is its 1.5 version. What's new is that there are more options when starting Galactic Conquest. as well as new layouts and adjustments for older ones. More importantly, this mod has many great mechanics, most of which have been updated or changed, like random missions, important characters and ships, planetary shields, Republic's general staff, and government, while Jedi enclaves have become buildable at several new locations. Fleet support and upkeep mechanics have also received a rework, along with emplacement bases, partisans, Jedi Knights, and even victory points. There are some new units, but I will let you explore these on your own, and I hope you will tell me of any other Empire at War mods you would like me to showcase in future videos. When it comes to games which try to make odd gameplay mixes work, Silica is at the forefront with its FPS and RTS gameplay. Recently, its main dev posted a new update titled Unit Split, and it raised the player count by several times, even if it was only for a time. The main upgrade was that the two human factions finally became separate with the addition of 21 new units and 13 new structures, along with 2 new maps to play on. Devs also improved performance and optimized the game even more, with texture streaming to terrain surfaces for example, while adding new functionality to the UI and the ability for players to command bot units in the FPS mode of the game. To be more specific, in balancing changes, structures will now degrade and eventually be destroyed when not linked to an HQ. This also means turrets become disabled if their structure is unlinked, and such structures can't even be repaired or produce anything. In addition to this, starting locations in all maps have been improved. Now devs will work on the AI and campaign for the eventual 1.0 release sometime next year. Now, a huge game update you can play almost at the moment you are watching this video is the second act of the campaign of Godsworn. Its indie devs plan to release this update on the 25th of January with 5 new campaign missions. What you can expect is a totally new hero with 2 additional heroes playable in the campaign only, at least for now. In addition to this, the Cockatrice finally joins the game with another 8 new units and 16 glyphs. For the skirmish, we are getting 2 new maps, and of course many fixes and improvements to the whole game, including animation updates. I hope you will play these new missions and share your feedback with developers and your impressions with me. One of my favorite space RTS games has also received an important update, so now in Sins of a Solar Empire 2 we have both new quick start options and an overhauled diplomacy system. With these also came improvements to the AI and modding UX. The main idea behind this new diplomacy system is to give players more flexibility and options and make diplomacy more important in the overall gameplay. As for the new quick start options, these help you jump over the first few minutes or even hours of gameplay you probably grow bored of playing over and over and over again. You can start with several planets, already built fleets and capital ships. There are several options to choose from, like basic, quick and advanced, which govern just how much of a head start you get. Of course, the AI gets this too, so be ready for wars to start soon, or not if you get the hang of the new diplomacy options. As you know, if I am not praising Beyond All Reason in one of my videos, then it is going to be one of the other massive scale RTS games. So this time I have to praise dedicated devs of 0K for their new graphical update. They overhauled the engine technology, making improvements to units, wrecks and map features, and passed this work onto the GPU, which actually improved performance. Funny thing is, this tech comes from the same engine upgrades devs of Bar did for their game, as both games are based on the same technology. With these changes, like units casting shade on each other, trails for lasers, cloaking effects, swaying trees and improved status effects, come several fixes, new gameplay features, as well as mapping and modding improvements. This game is free, so feel free to jump into it on Steam, link is in the description. As for more good news on RTS games getting funding, the indie solo dev of Ephemeris managed to get funding in his own country, and this allowed him to employ more devs to work with him on this hybrid of 4x turn-based map gameplay and tactical RTS spaceship battles. I showcased this game many times before and even have a full playlist which I will link up here and down in the description. This new funding, when put together with the private investments the game already got, means this main dev is finally able to put his vision into reality. If this is the first time you're hearing about this game, which means you should be watching my videos more regularly, Ephemeris has a gameplay mix from Masters of Orion, Homeworld and Total War. Real-time battles are subject to Newtonian physics, while the turn-based 4x grain-scale map gameplay offers a randomized tech tree to make the game less predictable and help with replay value. One demo I have shown you before has received so many updates and improvements that I have to mention Cubic Annihilation once again. It is a very interesting mix of base building gameplay with a commander unit, but on a smaller scale and faster gameplay. So in this updated demo, you can try out the Galaxy Conquest game mode and share your feedback with the solo developer. He has reworked the AI so it can play in team and free-for-all matches. That little issue with stealth units has been corrected, so you can't trick it easily or rush its commander unit. And that commander now has customizable modules besides the D-gun, meaning you can play with his hull, weapon, shield, legs, feet, and even pick which ability he will have, balancing strengths and weaknesses. This new time-limited demo offers the first 6 missions inspired by StarCraft 2 co-op game modes and CNC generals. Do note that the supply cap has been increased, new voice lines and super weapon added, along with new units, balanced old ones with extra turrets and modifiers. So do give it a try and wishlist the game if you enjoy it. Another game you can try out, and one I have never shown before, is SHELLSTORM The Great War, whose indie dev wants to make an RTS that would redefine the genre, as he puts it, with destructible terrain, physics-driven interactions, and complex dynamic AI characters. Bold and substantial claims, sure, but at least we can all judge them on the merits of his demo version on Steam. Ultimately, this game is designed to have both PvE and PvP content, where you command the many types of units and weapon systems available during the First World War. Two other features which can set this game above others are fully physics-based movement for tanks and aircraft, with functional tracks and wheels which can be targeted and destroyed, along with a true directional vision system that checks for both line of sight and whether enemies are actually facing you instead of the 360-degree awareness we are used to. Last but not least, you should know that Warfactory, the upcoming automation-driven RTS, which blends factory logistics with real-time battles, is having a closed alpha playtest you can apply for on its Steam store page. This game focuses on planet-scale automation based on supply chains, complete with conveyor belts in real-time and some light 4X elements. You'll be able to construct massive factories while designing modular robot armies and sending them into battle. The overall gameplay objective is to conquer the in-game galaxy, with each new planet being its own logistical challenge, and you hop from one to the next in your mothership while unlocking lost tech to get upgrades. If you do get into the game and its test, make sure to leave your feedback to the devs so they can improve the game and pick the best direction for its future development. Now, since I have almost 3 times this much news about new and upcoming RTS games alike, I am going to publish another RTS news video soon, but do feel free to tell me if I missed something that is important to you, be you a gamer or a game dev. Until then, check out some of my other videos using the cards on the screen or links in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!